see me okay?
Yes, yep, you're coming through.
Great. And the last one, can we see that okay?
Screen is coming up. Yep, screen is sharing.
Awesome. All right. Maybe we can go ahead and get started in a second. And make sure it's working. Good. All right. So, hi everyone. This is Hooked on a Feeling, the making of Hook, Line, and Sniper, presented by me, Joshua Gaines. Here, I'm gonna dive into the experience of developing the indie game Hook, Line, and Sniper, from its earliest brainstorming days to its eventual full Steam release. So before we get into everything, I'd like to just brief over our planned agenda. We're going to go through a checklist of topics during this call. I'll introduce myself and Hook, Line, and Sniper. I'll talk about the game's early days, its beginnings with the game jams that it was featured in, the middle of the production and the struggles we faced around then, the game's eventual release, and the showcases that we've been through or going to go to, and then what's coming up next from our team or just from me. And you'll notice that each topic has a time next to it. I tried estimating how long each section would take for y'all's benefit, just to be kinder about time management. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be yapping for about 15 to 17 minutes. I have a lot of water beside me, so I should be good to go for that. Anyway, we got to start somewhere, so we're going to have to start from the top. But before we get into that, I've got a little challenge for you all. So I'm going to be talking about this fish with a gun game a lot tonight. So I want to make a little bit of a game out of it. And I would like for you all to try to keep track of how many times I say the word fish. Because it's going to be a lot. Excluding just now and what I've set up to this point. Start counting from this point on. And by the end, I want to figure out who got the closest to the actual number. And I'll give out a free Steam key for whoever got closest number to the F word that I say. How many times I say that word. Okay, so now we can start. So we're going to start with some quick introductions for both me and for Hook, Line, and Sniper. So a little bit about me, for those of you who don't know who I am. My name is Joshua Gaines. I also go by ItellaItella on all social medias. Right now, I am a senior at George Mason University, pursuing my bachelor's in game design and my minor in music technology. Initially, when I came to GMU, I declared an undecided major, as I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with myself yet. All I knew was that I really liked video game music, and if I could do something centered around that, that'd be really cool. It wasn't until I befriended the officers of George Mason's game design club, GADIC, that I realized, oh, hey, I like this whole game design thing a whole lot. So I started taking the idea of working on video games a lot more seriously, and working on games with friends, solo daring projects on my own, and eventually becoming the sound team director for that game design club after a few years, or for a few years, sorry. And eventually, I decided that I definitely wanted to be a game designer. I've mainly focused on music composition and sound design, but as I said, I've also solo devved enough to learn a lot about just like general design principles, so I consider myself pretty alright there as well. Fish, by the way. Eventually, with enough networking and getting to know folks, my name has started to get around a little bit, to the point where I was actually receiving commissions for my music and for commissions for me to actually develop games in their entireties, for certain clients. During this time, I had met someone named Justin Landon. Justin and I were both members of GADIG and had been seeing each other's game design skills for a while. And at some point, we decided we really wanted to work on a game together outside of the club. And so we did. And that game was Hook, Line, and Sniper. All right, so what exactly is Hook, Line, and Sniper? What is the fish of a gun game? Okay, well, it is an arcadey twin stick shooter where you play as a fish with a sniper rifle. It's a score-based game where you go on a krilling spree to try and rack up as many points as you can, within a 2-minute round. Justin and I took heavy inspiration from games like Ultra Kill and the Devil May Cry series to try and create a stylish, action-packed experience for players. I mainly focused on the sound, art, and production management of the project, while Justin did the programming and helped a lot with the sound effects. To continue, excitingly, Hookline and Sniper, or HLS for short, I'm going to be referring to it as HLS a lot during this, was both of our first commercially released projects. Like I've done commissions, but up to the point of HLS, I haven't fully developed a project that I can call my own and sell it. It released March 7th on both Steam and Itch for about $8. The development and release of HLS went so well, in fact, that is the reason I'm talking to you all right now. But before we can talk about what the game eventually came to, we've got to run through where it came from in the first place. So that takes us into Chapter 2. Hook, Line, and Sniper's beginnings. The game jams, brainstorm, and a whole lot of goldfish crackers. And yes, that G word does count for the F word. So, in April of 2024, Gaddick had held their Jam Fest Game Jam event. Basically, Gaddick hosts a 72-hour game jam while also streaming themselves play games to raise money for charity. The game jam portion of the event always has a theme revealed on the first day. Justin and I, we already knew that we wanted to work together on the game jam. We just didn't know what our idea was going to be yet. And this time around, the theme came out to be unusual source of power. It was a really, really broad but like thought-provoking prompt. So Justin and I were like, okay, yeah, no, we're ready. Let's do this. Let's figure this out. So we met in the nearby dining hall and just started spitballing ideas at each other. Okay, unusual source of power. What's unusual? Monkey with a tennis racket. Yeah, okay. Flying pirate ships. Yeah. A fish. Yeah, okay. A fish with a what? With a gun, maybe? Nah, that's stupid. Well, but wait, people love stupid games. So after a few hours, we'd grown really attached to this stupid idea of a fish holding a comically larger than him sniper rifle. Justin started prototyping the idea in Godot, and I drew up a sniper rifle in a fish pixel art. Oh, that was one of those words, by the way. um, and you might think, hey, how come that fish sort of looks like a goldfish cracker? Well, that's because we were eating a lot of goldfish crackers. For some reason, during the Jam Fest, the Gaddick officer supplied everyone with like a lot of goldfish crackers, like too many of them. So I think as I ate them, they might have like swam their way into my brain or something. Because whenever I thought of a fish in my head, all I could see was the stupid smiling snack back in me. So we ran with it because it was stupid, and people really like stupid. And that's another thing about HLS that I don't think people really know. We were not, initially taking the game seriously. It was just supposed to be a little guy with a sniper rifle. It was never meant to be anything more than a silly little game to make our friends laugh. We didn't really know what we were getting into yet. But by the end of the jam, we had something like this. It looks very similar to the end product. That's because I think we did pretty well in the initial phase of it. A lot of our friends at Jam Fest were really impressed by the game, and we were really proud of what we had. Now, a really, really big coincidence occurred that kind of left us all pretty speechless. Hold on. So, during the Jam Fest, I just so happened to check itch.io to see what other game jams were going on at that point because around that time I was really, really addicted to game jams and it was kind of bad. um, but anyway, by chance during that moment, we noticed that there was a game jam with the title of Fish Fest live at the same time as Jam Fest. We felt it was like sort of a sign. Like, what are the odds that a game jam centered entirely around fish was occurring at the same time as when we developed a fish-based game? So obviously, we submitted Hook, Line, and Sniper into that game jam. We thought, how funny would it be if our stupid little game got like top 10 or something, and it had like 550 plus submissions. So we would have been over the moon if we had even gotten, like top 50 or like even like top 100 to be honest. And like funnily enough, I'm pretty sure I was still eating on like leftover goldfish packets by the time like Fish Fest had came and gone. All right, so imagine me sitting on the couch chewing on goldfish crackers when Justin sends me this screenshot. So this chapter is called "Oh wait, okay, this game's kind of good." And so, in a jam of over 550 plus submissions, in a jam that we entered as a joke, we came out on top as first place. And you can say that we handled the news pretty well. um, so, at this point, we were thinking, oh crap, okay, this game is apparently good enough to beat, 550 other games. We've got to like do something with it now, right? So, Then we started to focus on a full steam ahead production on HLS, preparing ourselves and the game for a full Steam release. So we had some choices to make for HLS. What do we want in the game? What do we not want? What things did players seem to really enjoy? What things could we maybe do without? One department of the game that definitely succeeded was juice and polish. Justin's skills as like a programmer understanding game feel and polish are absolutely insane. The movement of the fish, the way the world and the screen reacts to the gameplay, how the water reacts to the fish bounding in and out of its surface, how the skybox looks and how it reflects on the water. And one of the ideas that we had established was that we had really enjoyed the idea of a diegetic menuing. Basically, we love the idea that in order to go from level to level, the player would physically swim the fish over to the next scene that you're seeing in that GIF there. And to start a run, the fish would have to aim at a bird, fire at it, and that will start the run. We really loved the way that that felt, and it was so different. And a lot of players spoke up about how much they loved that system. But now, since there's so much more in the game than there used to be, we started running into the issue of not having enough screen space for all of those diegetic elements that we wanted to add. So we had to start using more traditional menus eventually, but we still had held on to that really stylistic approach for all the level selections throughout the game. And another idea that we really enjoyed was the idea of dynamic music changes. You can't see it here because of the GIF, but when you're in this main menu area with the two birds flying, the music is different from when you actually start a run. It's more chill and relaxed, while when you go into an actual run, it becomes a lot more upbeat and all the instruments come in. So basically, it just gives the actual gameplay more oomph. And that is just another example of like that juice that we figured out that we really, really like, and that we wanted to like try to push forward for the majority of the game past the game jam. Similarly, there were a ton of systems like that we build onto over time, like adding in more weapons, like the hand cannon that fires a cannonball, and when the player shoots the cannonball with the sniper rifle, it results in a bigger explosion like that. Enemy types like the sea urchin that careens into the screen from the background and tries to strike the fish, and also skins and challenges for the player to unlock. A lot of the development was fun and really let us explore our game design chops, what we've learned in the past 4 years of being students at GMU. With there being just the two of us, there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of throwing ideas around together and seeing what stuck, and that was just always really, really fun for the both of us to do. But a lot of pressure started to build up onto us during development. There were high expectations from a lot of people, and we worried whether or not we could meet them. The amount of people who would say to me, "Oh, dude, this game is so awesome. Please market it better. Don't let it die. Started TikTok, started this, started that, started this, started that." Just all of that. It wasn't exactly easy. It wasn't exactly an easy thing to deal with. Um, I'm not a promoter. I'm not a marketing major. I'm none of that. I'm just a guy with a funny fish game. Justin focuses mainly on the actual development of the game, so it left me handling a lot of the paperwork. Filling out documentations and tax forms, applying for showcases like Too Many Games and MagFest, emailing influencers and promoters, learning how to video edit to make TikToks and Instagram reels. Um, but it never really felt like I was doing, or I knew what I was doing necessarily, nor did it ever feel like I was doing enough. And with us both being, broke college students, we didn't really have the funds to hire people to help out with the tedious stuff. I was just doing my best to try and not let the folks down who expected a lot from HLS. And oftentimes the pressure would get to me, and I'd get a little physically worn out from overworking, especially as we drew closer to our expected release date of March 7th. The crunch was pretty rough, and we were constantly worried whether or not we would really succeed in the end. But with all of that, we did get through it. The game was fully completed just one day before our deadline, and since then we've been focusing entirely on marketing. We've actually been accepted into a bunch of showcases since January. The biggest one we've attended so far being MagFest. It was such a huge deal getting accepted to a showcase like MagFest. Again, HLS started off as a stupid little game jam project, and now is a few tables down from the Unbeatable crew, and like two tables that way down from the Angry Video Game Nerd booth. So, it was a lot. The most incredible part of tabling during MagFest was like fans. Like, yeah, apparently we had those. Apparently we have some fans out there. So it's like people who would come up to our table talking about how a friend days or weeks ago told them about our game and how much they needed to check it out. Surprisingly, there was even a panel there at MagFest that shouted us out by name. We were getting huge waves of attendees dropping by our booth over the course of that weekend. It was extremely overwhelming, but it was also very validating. People did hear about our game, people did love it, people did show up, and that felt really nice for us. A big thing that felt really nice about it was our merch and how we sold all of it. People loved our merch. Folks would chase down their friends just to get them to come check out the funny fish of a gun charm. We actually managed to sell out of all of our merch, paying back the price it took for us to prepare for MagFest entirely. MagFest was a blast, and with us being invited to a few more showcases, we're hoping to have as much fun at those ones as we did with MagFest. And the positive vibes of MagFest really put the wind back into our sails. We were still pretty burnt out, yeah, but knowing that we had fans and people who were rooting for us and really wanted us to, make our little fish game, get somewhere, that felt really nice, and it put us back into the motion of getting back in track. Um, so on March 7th, the game finally fully released. It is released on both Steam and itch right now. Like I said, $8. Ooh, you want it so bad. Ooh. And now that we're at the end of the main development of the Funny Fish game, we've been asking ourselves, what next a lot. There's still a ton to do with HLS. There's still marketing and promoting as much as I can do to do, and maybe some sort of DLC. Me and Justin have been yapping about a Mariana Trench DLC as a joke for a few months now, and it's always been a joke. It's always meant to be a joke. But we know what happens when me and Justin make jokes. Those jokes apparently get tables at MagFest. So we're not totally sure, what's gonna come of that in the future. As for me specifically, outside of just Hook, Line, and Sniper, I've been working on a game called Anya. It is a hunting game set in the Blue Ridge Mountain Range, and it's meant to be a nature preserving simulator of you going through nature and trying to save the forest from this like deadly blight that had fallen over the land. So okay. So it is the player's job and Aya's job to locate the source of the blight and rid the forest of its malice or whatever. It's meant to be a really peaceful game. As you can see, it's supposed to be like very serene. The music's supposed to be calming. The visual's supposed to be really nice. And it was the game that I was working on before HLS became a thing. And I just started like nose deep diving into HLS for about a year. So now that that's slowing down, I'm thinking of maybe picking this back up. We'll have to see what me and Justin have planned for HLS in the future before I can, set that in stone. And all in all, that is about it for me. Thank you for listening to me yap for like 15 minutes. I really appreciate it. Hook, Line, and Sniper has been a bit of a dream come true for our team, and we're happy that so many people seem to care about it and want to hear about its development. I'm sure I didn't cover, every question that you might have, so we can do a little Q&A after this in a second. That QR code takes you to my socials and the Steam page and my email address if you want to get in contact with me or check out the Steam page and actually buy a copy of HLS yourself. That'd be really cool. That'd be appreciated. And before we get into the Q&A, the fish. How many times did I say the word fish? It was 29. So if you guess 29, we're doing like an honor system kind of thing right now. If you guess 29 or somewhere around 29, let me know and I can give you a Steam key. But other than that, we can go into our Q&A section. If anyone wants to ask any, you know, kind of like pointless questions, stupid questions, actually meaningful questions, any of that, I'm open to it and I'll try to answer them the best I can. Do know that since Justin is the programmer and I'm the other stuff, There are some things about the game's development I don't have all that much information about. He knows a lot more of the specific parameters and numbers and how the programming worked in Godot, while I took care of the other stuff. So, with that being said, I would be more than happy to answer some of y'all's questions. So, we got any?
I have one question, if nobody
Yeah.
else has a question. So you said you finished the game like one day before your release,
hmm
which sounded kind of stressful. What were you doing, or what were the things you were like working on that last like few days that were the most difficult?
Yeah. So, um, for me, Justin was doing something else. He was doing. I think he was working on the anti-cheat system for our leaderboard because the game does have an online leaderboard system. And he was working on trying to put together the anti-cheat to make sure that people couldn't get perfect scores and all that. Complicated stuff. That's his business. I was trying to draw a pufferfish and write the music for the last area of the game. So I did all of the art in the game, but for some reason, at the very last bit, we realized we didn't do the art for the pufferfish enemy yet, and I, for some reason, cannot draw a pufferfish. So for the last like 2 days or 3 days, something like that, I was working on, production stuff, getting the papers out, making sure to contact YouTubers and stuff. And the actual development of the game that I was working on was just trying so hard and failing to draw a pufferfish just over and over again. I'm pretty sure I have like 7 work in progress versions of that pufferfish, and eventually I asked my roommate to help me write it or draw it because I just couldn't do it for some reason. Um, and as for the final area music, that one's a little more. That one makes more sense because it's the final area of the game. So I wanted to make sure the music for it was really really good. Um, so every draft of it that I made up to that point, I just kept dismissing because it just wasn't good enough for like the big final part of the game. Um, I think eventually, that might have taken me, I think 12 different attempts. I think I had to write about 12 different songs before I was satisfied with it. So it was definitely a self-imposed kind of crunch kind of thing. No one else told me I had to do that, but the other 11 songs were mid. They were pretty mid in my opinion. So the 12th one was the one though. So yeah, that's what we were working on at the very very end of it all. So any more questions?
Yeah, I have one question. Like being a small team,
Mm.
obviously you probably had some. Once you decided we're gonna do this full production, we're gonna release it to Steam. You had a bunch of ideas for features you wanted to add. Did any features ideas not make it, and why?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a few of them. um, the one that comes to mind first is let me see if I can go backwards in this. You might have seen that. Let's see, where are you? So at the stage select, there are two birds flying in the sky, and depending on which one you shoot, it'll activate either 1-1 or 1-2. We had the idea that if you managed to shoot both birds at the same time, it would take you to a secret level. And the secret level would have some really, really weird gimmick that the rest of the game doesn't have. Like instead of trying to get multiple kills, you're jumping through hoops to try to um, get a high mobility score or your agility score, and trying to what's another one? There was one where like you only had the hand cannon, but it shot extremely, extremely fast. So it was sometimes glitch the game out, and it was really fun to mess with. But um, it was part of the crunch that we realized that we didn't have enough time to make an interesting secret level for all of the worlds. So unfortunately, we had to get rid of that, and it was a real big shame because we loved the idea of the secret level since we thought of it like gosh like back in like June or something. But we just didn't have the time to get around to it. If we are to do the DLC, I'd be extremely surprised if that doesn't make it in. I'd be extremely, extremely surprised if we somehow let the secret levels slip through our fingers again. Um, but that's definitely one of my favorite features that we had to drop. Um, Another one that I think we had to get rid of was so we have fish customization, you have a choice of, I believe, 12 different fish skins that you can choose from to play with, and you unlock them as you complete challenges throughout the game. We wanted way more than 12, but with me being the only artist for the fish, for the different skins, and for the crunch getting so close or getting so tight and the deadline getting so close, we realized, okay, let's slam the brakes. Let's just go to 12 and then move on to something else. Um, and again, I feel like that is definitely a DLC thing where those skins, like we have plenty, um, that we have drawn up. As a matter of fact, hold on. So if you look at my camera for a second, these are, let me see. These, if you can see it, are a whole bunch of drawings of fish that my students have drawn for me. I don't know if you can see it all that well. Let me see. There you go. My students have drawn me a bunch of different fish, and they are like, please, please, please put these in the game at some point. And I couldn't do a lot of them. I only did like 2 or 3 of them for the base release. But if there is a DLC, I would absolutely love to do some more of my students' drawings into the game. But yeah, that's another one of those features that I unfortunately we just couldn't get to in time. Anything else?
I wanted to ask about strategy for playing the game.
Yeah.
'Cause
Okay.
I'm having a harder time getting like high scores and stuff. But I think it's also a good question of game feel
hmm
as well.
So it's definitely a I'll say that Justin's favorite video game of all time is Ultra Kill. Um, and you can definitely feel it in the game of just like you have to like damn near break your fingers in order to get really really good at the game. The amount of times that I've walked away from the game, had a blast with my wrists aching, is more often than I could count. My favorite strategy for the game is that a lot of people they think that you're supposed to just like look for the clusters of enemies and just throw cannonballs and shoot them as many times as you can, but not necessarily. One of the parts of the game that we don't really say, but we know from the back end, is that there is a set number of enemies that spawn per round. Like that number is not going to go higher or lower. Where they spawn, like left or right, how fast they move, if they're in a cluster, those things do change, but the set number of them do not. So if you focus less on trying to aim for just specifically the clusters and more so just focus on, okay, even if it's just one bird or one fish, if I hit that, that's closer to the to me getting a higher score. If you think about it from like that point of view, your score gets higher. That's how I've gotten like higher scores from just stop looking at the clusters so much and just start shooting everything I see. Um, Another strategy that a lot of people don't really utilize all that much is, using the whole of your arsenal. A lot of people they like to shoot the sniper rifle until it runs out of ammo, and just keep clicking left click. That's going to do anything. It's not going to do anything. What you're supposed to do is use the sniper rifle, deplete its ammo, do whatever. But also, use the hand cannon, use the other weapons that are in the game. If you buy it, you'll see them. Use the other weapons, use your dive bomb mechanic, use your grappling hook. Those are ways to get more krills while you're waiting for your sniper's bullets to replenish. So there's a few things that you can, put together in order to get a higher score. My favorite strategy is, for those of you who don't know, there is a hot air balloon enemy in the game. The hot air balloon gives you a bit more score than the basic like fish and bird do, but it requires more hits to kill it. But we found this out during the development. If you grapple the hot air balloon from below it and like the fish zips up to it, if you grapple again in quick succession, it counts for 2 hits. So you can kill the hot air balloon enemy and get extra score within like a second compared to wasting 2 of your sniper bullets on it or wasting time trying to find a different way about it. So there are a lot of different strategies to how to play the game that we like me and Justin are still learning from watching other people play, which is super cool. And I don't want to give away like everything that we found so far. I would like for you to like try to figure things out on your own as well. Um, but there are a lot of strategies. If you just like find a few of them and run with it, I'm sure you'll get a higher score. But yeah, that's that one. Anything else?
I do think it is just kind of playing the game more because it was a couple levels in, then I realized, oh yeah, duh, I could just use other weapons
Exactly. Yep.
to
It's
let him
definitely
win.
like we don't. I don't think I have it here, but basically for the challenges, we use the challenges as a way to teach the player how the game works. Um, at no point in like the tutorials, like where like the WASD pop up on the screen or anything like that, at no point during that do we tell the player how to do a dive bomb. But for the challenges of level 1 or world 1, once you get to that point, it says do a dive bomb to get this amount of score. And so the player thinks, okay, what is a dive bomb? How do I do a dive bomb? Okay, well, if you to dive is to go down, so maybe if I hold S, something happen, and then when they hold S in the air, they'll see that they dive bomb. So they're like, oh, that's what dive bomb is. It. So we wanted to teach the players how to do things without outwardly saying, hold this button to do that, hold this button to do this. And that's another aspect of the game that a lot of people have given us some praise for. Um, like what I mentioned earlier in this call, the cannonball. When you shoot the cannonball with the sniper rifle, it makes a bigger explosion. We don't tell you how to do that. We just say shooting the cannon. But like we just say like if you fire the cannonball at a sea urchin, it'll break it. So you're like, okay, how do I do that? Just the cannonball by itself, or do I try shooting it, or blah 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 blah? And eventually you'll figure out, oh hey, if I hit it with the sniper, it makes a bigger explosion. Um, so yeah, just that is another one of those polish things that me and Justin figured out that we really liked and that we had going throughout the entire game. No mission or no level in the game doesn't have some sort of teaching element in it. Every level has something that is going to teach the player how to be better at the game. So if you play a little longer, you'll learn more things and you'll be able to use those to go back to the previous worlds and get higher scores. All right, anything else?
How'd you come up with the price?
Oh, like, well, basically, we were thinking, well, it is a game that took us a little less than a year to create. Um, it took us a little less than a year to create. It could be beaten within 2 hours. It was a relatively small game. Like that's we focused mainly on making a small game. We didn't want to make it like super big of a big of a like a big story or overlapping this or that. We just wanted to be a fun arcade game that had a few levels in it. Um, and so we were thinking, $4, $5, $6, and then some people said, "I'd pay $20 for that game. I'd pay 15. I'd pay 20." And so we were like, "Okay, relax. We're not asking you to do all that. But maybe $4 to $5 is a bit too low." So we just tried to look for a middle ground that felt more appropriate, and then we landed on $8. And it's like, okay, I feel like it's a pretty good experience for $8, and um, it'll satisfy the folks who don't want to spend more than 10, and it'll I don't know the people who want to spend 20 don't have to spend 20 anymore. So I think that is a good place for the price. I'm pretty satisfied with where we chose to have the price sit at. And yeah, the low tutorialization we cooked. I think that I really enjoy how we just let the player figure things out. Yeah. Any more questions?
Yeah. Just you talked about a lot of the things that you learned of transitioning to like a full game. I was
Hmm.
wondering, like, what you would you have actually like told yourself, I guess, if you could
Uh,
go back and like think like what was like you really need to get over in terms of like transitioning, to a
um.
full project.
Well, funnily enough, like I said, we wanted to make a small game,
Hmm.
but we also wanted it to be a full experience that people were willing to pay for. So a big like it took us, I want to say maybe like months. Maybe, it took us a while to figure out how much of the game should we even try to make because like there's so much more we could make for this game, um, to make it a full experience. But we wanted it to be a short game that people will be able to like digest really quickly. So a big complication about trying to make it like trying to go from jam to full game was just figuring out where the goalpost was and not moving it any farther or closer to us. Definitively saying this is what the game needs to be. We don't need to make it anything more, anything less. And even though we did decide on that, it took us a long time to stop trying to add more things to the game. Or it took us a long time to also allow ourselves to add more things to the game. Um, it took us a long time to figure that out, man. It wasn't until like February that we really felt like, okay, we have a really good idea of where the game stops and what it needs, and then we're pretty satisfied with where it is right now. Yeah. All right, what else we got?
Yeah, I have another question on, again, the logistics of being a small team trying to
Mhm.
accomplish this. If you could have one extra team member on the team, what kind of role would you want on your team
Oh,
from that being a small team?
they are immediately going to social media. They are for sure, absolutely. They're answering emails and social media. I can't like it's fine. I enjoy, like I said, Justin focuses mainly on just the programming side of the game. And I have to take care of all of the paperwork and stuff. If I were to just be doing the paperwork and stuff, then that would be fine. But having to do the paperwork and like emails and talking to promoters and all that, on top of also trying to use DaVinci and having DaVinci crash on me all the time for no reason, and then just choosing to drop my video's frames down to 30 FPS after I render it, I can't do it. It's so if I had another hand, that hand would absolutely be doing the TikToks and Instagrams and all that. And I would probably still be taking care of the back end stuff, talking to emails and all that. Um, yeah, I think that's a no-brainer for me. Yeah, that's absolutely.
Yeah, I hear that from a lot of indie dev folks where you've got a cool idea, you're passionate about it, then you go into that release phase and you remember marketing is a thing you have to do.
Exactly. And like the thing about that is like talking to promoters, advertisers, YouTubers, TikTokers, they they're not cheap. They're not cheap at all. They want like some let's say someone has like 100,000 followers on Instagram. Not a small number by any margin. That's a huge number, and that would be huge for our game. They want like $8,000 for one video, and two college students who, granted, we HLS's release is giving us money, and we're super super thrilled about that. $8,000 is a bit much. That's a little more than we were looking to spend for one video on one account that we don't even totally know if it'll blow up the way that we need it to. Um, so marketing has been difficult, not only for having to make the social media stuff ourselves or having to contact people, but after contacting people, realizing that they want way more from us than we have available right now. That's often a pretty big blow to the gut that doesn't feel all that great. um but there are a lot of instances, not to be like a downer, to look at the bright side of it. We have had, I think, 2 to 3 YouTubers who have already free of charge made videos about us that we really appreciate. Um, and we've had some Instagram and TikTok folks who've made videos about us for like, you know, still for money, but not, $8,000. And those videos have done well. Um, so it works. It's just a matter of, out of the 30 emails that I send out, or like the 30 DMs that I send out, like 2 or 3 of them are within our budget and work, while the other ones are, they are what they are. It is what it is. Yeah. So, anything else?
Oh, I had a question about the shows you guys are doing. Is my mic working, by the way? Is
Yes.
it okay now? So you did MagFest earlier this year, and you're doing two. You're going to do 2 more shows. You said with this game.
We're doing, we are, what's the word? Accepted for Too Many Games in Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
and we're accepted for Awesome Con, which is next week, I think, or the
Yeah.
week after next. Yeah, we're accepted for both of those. Um, It's also very unlikely that we won't find a spot in Game Mason. So we're likely going to be tabling there as well. So that's 3 that we know of for certain. And it's just a matter of finding some more
Yeah.
between now and when. Yeah.
So I guess I had one. So like at Magfest, I was wondering like, out of the testers, did any of the feedback that you got at like Magfest at these like big playtesting events, did it like go into the game at all? Do you have instances of that? Like, were those events for you? Were they more for just getting the game's name out there, or did you go in like trying to change aspects of the game, or was it mainly just marketing and selling merch and stuff?
Mm. So I will say that our primary goal for MagFest was to blow up, was just to get more people to know that our game exists. But that is definitely not to say that we weren't also looking for feedback. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Part of our MagFest setup was a QR code that took you to our feedback forum, and we got, gosh, we got a lot of responses from that. I can't remember the exact number, but we got a lot. Um, we were definitely taking in as much feedback about the game as we could, and implementing what we felt was appropriate. A lot of the feedback, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but a good amount of the feedback was things that the players didn't know were already solved or already in the game, because they only played for like 10 minutes, so they didn't get to the later portions of the game that showcased whatever uh, worry they were talking about. Like, one of them said that they didn't like how they thought the sniper rifle was fun, but they didn't like how it was the only option. So we're like, okay, play the game for 10 more minutes, and then you'll see that it's not the only option. Um, and then they put that into the feedback form, and we're like, okay, so they just didn't play the game for more than like 2 minutes. That's fine. Um, but a lot of the feedback has been a huge help. And a lot of it has found its way into the final release of the game. I can't say off the top of my head which ones did that, because there were so many of them. We had like after MagFest, we had like a week or two where we were just me and Justin were hopping in call for like 4 hours a day, just looking through the feedback and sifting through what of it we thought was actually something that we should pursue, or what was just like a momentary issue that we've already fixed, what was something that wasn't an issue at all. We had a lot of those calls just to try to figure out what actually demanded attention. um, my favorite bit of feedback that we got was one man came up to the table. He was about in his 30s or 40s. um, he was playing the game, and he complained that he didn't like that the right analog stick is what you use to aim. And me and Justin were like, "Oh, okay. So, well, what do you suggest?" And he said, "I suggest having the left trigger be to rotate counterclockwise and the right trigger to rotate clockwise, and I can aim doing this." And we were like, um, "Yeah. So our QR code for our feedback form is right there. Go ahead and just add it into there, and we'll take a look at it." I don't remember looking at that that part of the feedback after that point. Um, we looked at all of the other ones, but that one it was really funny. It was something else. Um, but yeah, all that to say, our main, like I said before, our main goal with MagFest and for most showcase tabling events is just to try to get our name out there some more, get people talking about us, get more quote unquote fans. Um, and feedback is always a good secondary thing that we are always welcome for or welcome to. Hmm. There's nothing like wrong with that. uh Rotations, like once he started talking about it, I could immediately tell how it would work. So that means that there has been a reference to it in my head somewhere. Um, but I just didn't think it was a great idea for our game. So, and Justin was very adamant. Like, I would joke about it a little bit afterwards, and he just like he didn't like it. He did not like that at all. Because if it requires such a overhaul, it will require a really big overhaul. And like the game does have full controller support. It's primarily played on keyboard and mouse, but we have full controller support. Um, and we just think that it's better played with the stick than the clockwise, counterclockwise rotations with the triggers. So yeah, to each your own, I suppose. All right, anything else?
I'm gonna ask one question related
Mhm.
to Game 232, the online and mobile games class.
All right.
If you were to try to port this to mobile, do you think that that could be a possibility?
So there was a man at MagFest. I can't remember much about him, but he was standing there for a while, just really yapping at us about trying to uh port it to mobile. He wasn't like interested in like publishing or helping. He was just like curious about the possibility of it. Um, and again, I was like, oh yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that maybe working. And Justin, see, the thing about Justin is that regardless if he likes or dislikes an idea, his initial response is gonna be, nah. And then maybe like 2 hours later, he's gonna be like, okay, maybe I could have. Okay, maybe there is something in there. So as we were talking to that man, I was like, oh yeah, Justin, what do you think? Yeah, maybe we could try to do something with a mobile port. And he just wasn't having it in the moment. But then about 2 hours later, he was like, I've been thinking about that mobile port idea, and I do have some ideas on how that could work. Um, so it's something that Justin has, shown interest in between then and now. He has said it a few times how he thinks that it shouldn't be too hard to do. Um, and it's on our list of things to talk about. But it's just not high on the list of our things to talk about. Our biggest thing to talk about right now um is there some sort of HLS DLC, and are we working on a game together after HLS is over? Um, the mobile port for HLS is like way down there somewhere, but it is a conversation that we've had up to this point before, and there's a non-zero chance that it'll come to be. All right, what else we got?
Are you happy with the sales?
Say it again. Am I happy with?
The sales.
Oh yeah, yeah, we're like considering that we are two college students with no marketing team, no promotions team, just two people trying their best, word of mouth, getting their names out there. We are getting. I don't want to go into like specifics, but we are. We've been able to make back the money it cost us to go to MagFest, and like then some by a good amount. um, and it's we are making about, I believe, roughly about five sales every day for the past like week or so. We've been making like another 5 sales per day. um and that number that racks up after a while, and it's good. We had like a huge boost or a big burst in sales that first week that the game released, the week of the 7th, or yeah, the week of the 7th. A huge burst in sales. The game before release had about 500 wish lists. Um, it released on the 7th, which was a Friday, and by that Sunday we had like 800 wish lists, and now we're sitting at like, I believe 1100 wish lists. And just like it was a huge boost of them from when the game released to now, and it's just been steadily going up since then, um, along with the sales, and it's cool. It's really cool. Just like I said, it's both me and Justin's first like sold game like this. Um, so you know, any number higher than 0 is like we made it, Mama. We made it. So we're pretty satisfied with where it is. And we would like to see it keep going higher. So hopefully that happens.
You hit like 10 reviews on your first day, right?
No, yes,
Or
either
was it your
first day
second day?
or first 2 days. Yeah, I believe it's first
Okay.
2 days.
Because I was wondering if you, but it's all in your first day. So I was wondering if hitting that 10 reviews early, if you noticed like a spike in discoverability, because that's one of the things that people say, like hitting that 10 review count often helps a lot. But you hit it so early that it probably overlapped with your day one sales as well. So
It
yeah.
definitely, yeah, like it's a bit hard to tell. Um, it's a little hard to tell because like I said, we went from like 500 wish list to like 800 and something wish list within that first weekend, and it's hard to tell what of that came from just like the game releasing and what came from the 10. But even either way, it was still 300 more wish lists in like 2 days. And I can only assume that getting the 10 reviews did something for that, but it's hard to tell. What else we got?
I mean, I guess you're not a programmer, but I guess this was going to be a little bit more of a programming question, but I mean, overall, what were your like impressions about Godot? Did you guys face any like significant challenges with it? Any features that were missing or anything, or was everything pretty much smooth with the engine?
Hmm. So I program in Unity. That's the thing I know how to use. My Godot knowledge is very like small. Justin, on the other hand, he's amazing in everything he uses, and Godot being one of those things that he's really really good at. Um, so he had absolutely no issues. Like when the game very very first started for the game jam, he was like, "We are making this in Godot. There is no if, ands, or buts about it. I want to do that." And I was like, "Okay, sure, why not? If you want to make it in Godot, we can do that as long as you make it a 4:3 aspect ratio." And he was like, "Why?" And I was like, "So it can fit on a CRT TV because I wanted to." And he did, and it does, and it looks cool. And I'm glad that I did that like day one. Um, but to get back to Godot, for me personally, um, I don't, I haven't been programming anything for HLS all that much. But I have been like implementing stuff like art and sound, and trying to fix bugs. For a lot of the social media posts, I've been going in and changing some parameters around, to make um just interesting things happen, like increasing this thing to make the game crash to see what it looks like. Um, and it is the switching over from Unity to Godot has been difficult for me, because I've only been doing Unity for the past like 4 or 5 years of game dev. Um, but I can understand why people like it a lot. And if I were to like fully commit to it, I feel like I could probably make something really worthwhile in it. Um, and I think for the hunting that I was talking about before for my game Anya, um, it is currently made in Unity, but there's a part of me that keeps thinking to switch over to Godot because I have begun to really enjoy it in the time that I've been using it with Justin for HLS. Um, and as far as what features might be missing, that's definitely a Justin question. He would definitely. I know for a fact there were moments during the development where he would throw a fit because Godot doesn't do a specific thing that he wanted to do, but that specific thing was so specific I cannot remember it. It was never like surface level. It was always like deeper, deeper, deeper. A really like rock bottom issue that I just never knew was a problem to begin with. So I cannot recall what that was. Um, but besides that, he loved it. Besides that, he loved working Godot. I've enjoyed it, and I think it's been great. Anything else?
Hi there.
Mm. Hi, Cat.
Sorry, might be a silly question, but since you guys have such a fun game, do you
Mhm.
guys to have it to be exhibited in any, con and stuff, or do you guys have any plan for merchandise?
Yeah.
With a gun would be a good key change. So to
Yeah.
say.
So let me. I don't know where it was. Can't remember what slide, but somewhere in here. Uh, we have some that we sold at Magfest. We have, if you look at the presentation, my stream, we have some stickers that we have in Magfest, and we have some acrylic charms that we had. Um, and over there in a box, we have some like round buttons that has all of these designs and a bit more. Um, the all of the Magfest merch has totally sold out. We don't have any more of it, and that's huge. That's really cool. Um, and the buttons are fresh and ready to go for AwesomeCon next week. I've been holding those in reserve for AwesomeCon just to make sure I don't lose them. Um, and with like we have, like I said, we have AwesomeCon and Too Many Games and Game Mason that we know that we're going to, and then other stuff we're still trying to figure out. Um, yeah, and I know that we also have um, for the merch sales, we have bundles. If you buy a certain piece of merch, it comes with like a Steam key of the game or something. Um, the acrylic charms that you see, we sold those for about $15. Oh no, $20. We sold those for $20. Um, but it came with a free copy of the game, so you were essentially, spending $20 to get the $8 game, and then the difference being the price of the charms, about $12 for the charm. Um, and that was apparently a really, really good idea because we sold out really quick. Um, it started off as $15, but they started selling way too fast, so I had to bump the price to 20, and then they still kept selling fast, and then we just ran out. Um, so that was a good idea. I'm glad that I did that. Um, Same thing for the buttons. Next week for AwesomeCon, if you buy like the whole set, because it's like 6 different designs. If you buy one of each, you get a free copy of the game along with that, and I think it's gonna be about $15-$20 as well. Um, Probably not gonna sell out because we have so many of them, but um, yeah, we have plans for merch. We've had plans for merch, and we will continue having them. And hopefully we continue making money. That's the hope.
Nice. Can I contribute to the idea of making merch?
Sure. I think we've DM'd before, Kat. Go ahead, just give me a DM if you want to.
All right, I will, cause like I saw a good lot of good idea merch in GDC that could help you guys.
All right, send a DM my way. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, okay, someone said plushie win. Don't put the puffer fish. That makes me angry. Put that away. um, Plushie win. That might be a bit much. I don't know. I don't even know what it would be of. Maybe because we have our like main mascot, which is the fish with the sniper, not the goldfish cracker one, but the other one. That's our main mascot that we really like. Um, how the hell we would make that a plush, I don't know, but I'm sure there's some kind of way we can do that. That'd be really funny, actually. But I had to talk to Justin about it to see what his thoughts are. Oh, people are typing. Oh yeah, okay. So a fish plushie separate, a gun plushie separate, and then a Velcro to put them together. Okay, that kind of go hard. But I have to figure that out. That's definitely not an awesome con thing. That is a too many games in Philadelphia issue that we're worried about in the summer. More typing. And yeah, I bought those buttons. I bought fully with the plan to sell them at MagFest, but they didn't show up until 2 days after MagFest. So we missed out on a bit of money from that, unfortunately. But I'm hoping to make up for that during the upcoming cons that we're going to. Anything else? If not, I feel like that might be my sign to wrap it up soon, Professor Han.
Yeah, well, this has been really great. Thank you for coming out, giving a talk about your game. As you can tell, it's always a great time, especially to hear these stories of game development for somebody who's just shipped something as well. Looking forward to hearing how your journey proceeds over the next year with this game too. So this is just the start of your journey.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Yep.
That's the hope.
All
All
right.
right, well,
Well,
yeah, thank y'all a lot for letting me yap for so long. Um, it's been really fun doing this and just talking to so many people about my game. Like I said, it's a little bit of a dream come true kind of moment. Just like, wow, people really do care and they want to listen to me yap about it for an hour. um, an hour and like. But yeah, yeah. Just thank y'all. Thank you all a lot for letting me do this. I really appreciate it, and I hope you all enjoyed listening to this. And I hope those of you who haven't bought the game yet, you do that someday soon. Oh, and also, if you have a copy of the game, leave a review. We really want reviews. We really need reviews. So just go ahead, and it could be the dumbest thing in the world. I don't care as long as there's a thumbs up, please. We really appreciate those.
Yeah,
But yeah, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. Looking forward to seeing you at many more events, and thank you everyone for coming out to the talk, and hope to see you at another IGDA DC event soon. I'll hang out here for a little bit in case people have other questions about IGDA DC. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you all. I must leave now, so take care.